Hello. It's our last day. I've been trying to decide. My husband is outside working. We might hear him banging around. I'm trying to decide what color to do the cupcake cup wrapper. I don't remember. I think I did pinks on the pattern. But now that I'm looking at it, I wonder if that's too much pink. Hold on, I'm bringing this pattern up. What do you think? Should we stick with it and do... Oh yeah, I did the two pinks. The light pink and the dark pink. There's quite a bit of red already. And if we do red sprinkles, it should be fine. Okay. Pinks. Okay. Oops, we don't need brown. I have to put my phone on Do Not Disturb. Hold 1 second. Okay, I got a text message and I was like, oh great, I've already forgotten. Okay, so we're gonna do the wrapper and the frosting and the cherry. Are we excited? I'm excited. Today's gonna be a longer one because I'm gonna have to do all of the cupcake wrapper before we can move on. So are we ready for it? Let's see. Ooh. There we go. Here we go. Don't mind my mess there. Here we are, planning to work on this. One more little turn there. Okay, so we're gonna start with down here and then we will do the frosting. We are gonna practice doing some more satin stitching. Now, if you are struggling, I know a few people have messaged me about struggling with satin stitch. So, if you are struggling, I would, sorry, I gotta find my pen. If you are struggling with satin stitch, either to get it smooth or whatever, I would recommend doing vertical satin stitches. Just start at the top, work your way down, because these straight lines should make things a little bit easier. And then you can just practice satin stitching without a whole lot of other stressors. Okay? If you want something that is a little bit more advanced, what I'm gonna do is work in a diagonal. So we'll do like dark pink, light pink. When I'm working in a different shape or like at diagonal lines instead of like horizontal lines, I like to draw lines on here because it kind of helps keep me like where I need to be, stitching. Now you could do these horizontal as well, do them just straight across if you wanted. But this is what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna do every other color. So I'm gonna do dark pink, light pink, dark pink, light pink. I am going to use 4 strands. One thing, if you're struggling with satin stitch, using fewer strands can sometimes help, or taking your threads and like separating them and then putting them back together and putting them in your needle. Sometimes like this will just get like so twisted in your needle and then it just starts to look kind of funny. So if you're struggling with satin stitch, you could also like pull each of these out just separately and then put them back together. Does that make sense? So then they're not like twisted together. Okay, so I'm gonna use the dark pink, which is 33.50. That's what I'm gonna do first, and then I will use the lighter pink on the other sides. Let me just grab a needle. I did not finish my ice cream cone. I just worked on a personal project all weekend, and that was it. That was all I did. Okay. Whoops, sorry. I'm knocking things around. Okay, so another thing that I also like to do when I'm doing satin stitch that's like at an angle like this is I like to kind of create some guides. So I'm going to start at the top and go down. And then I'm going to come over here and do another one. Just to kind of, if you want to do this instead of drawing lines, you could totally do that too. I usually do both. Well, sometimes it depends on the project, but. Oh, my cat is begging to come in, and if I don't let her in, she's gonna sit out there and cry. Hold on. We have metal screen doors, and she will like climb the screen door to come inside. Huh. All right, so now that I have like my guides in there, then I'll go back and satin stitch. So I like to always start on the same side. For the majority of your projects, how many strands do you use for satin stitch? It really depends on the project. I really like 6 strands for satin stitch, but not for this project. I don't know why this time. I normally like to use 6 always. This time, well, because last time people ran out of thread, so I got worried about that. Like if they bought a kit and if they had to redo anything, they like ran out of thread. So I got worried about that. But you can do whatever. It depends. I know some people, they never separate strands. They always use 6 or more, 6 or 12, like they double it. But starting always from the same side, I feel like helps keep things like straight. That's one thing that helps me a lot. So I will always start from one side, whichever way I like naturally stitch it. I will very rarely try to save thread like with a satin stitch because I feel like it doesn't lay as smooth. So if you're having a hard time getting it to lay flat, you could try using more strands, see if that helps, or try using less strands. Less strands, it will just take longer to stitch because you don't have as much thread to take up space. Right? That makes sense. Ouch. I'm trying to decide where I want to go up. But I'm going to come up here. My angle got off a little bit. That's why we put the guides in, because then we can kind of fix it before it becomes an issue. See? That angle is not quite the same as that one, but we'll just fix it right here. and come down. Gosh, now the cats are fighting. What is up? We've got two. And the one was inside and the one was outside, and the one that I let in is now... I can't decide if they're like playing or arguing. Cats are weird. This is the first time in my life I've ever owned cats, and they are real weird. Okay. So, since I already have the needle with this color, hold on. Sometimes that helps too, if you carefully like wiggle your needle in there and kind of straighten those out a little. I'm just gonna come right over here and move on to this side. So you could also lay this and make sure that the angles are kind of the same. Oh, my thread is a little too long. Hey! Hold on, I gotta let one out. Hold on. Leo! Stop it. Come on. Go Leo. Jeez. They are like on one today. Yeesh. No longer stopping to take care of Roman, I'm stopping to take care of the cats. In the past, I always have to stop to take care of the youngest child. I love cats. Our 18-year-old boy cat died last summer, but we have a dog, so no more pets for a while. We have 2 dogs, but they are my husband's responsibility. I'm not a big fan of pets. But he loves dogs. So they are his, and I don't take care of them unless he's like out of town. But my daughter has begged for cats since she was like little. She loves them. And so last summer we had a friend with kittens. Well, okay, we had a cat before that, but it was like an outside cat. We had a lot of dogs. more than I should probably claim. And we were having mice problems because of like dog food and just our nut trees. And so we got a cat outside to help with mice. And then she wanted an inside cat. So when our friends had kittens, they talked us into taking 2 instead of 1. So we have these 2 beautiful gray cats that are siblings. They're cute, but they start to get on each other's nerves once in a while. Okay, I think I might not stitch this whole thing. This will take me a while. Anybody need satin stitch tips before I move on? So maybe I'll just do one column of the light pink, just so I can show you. I feel like I usually work like from top to bottom. So when I do the lighter pink, I'll probably work from the right side to the left side. Like I'll work from this way over. Okay, let me get this dark pink out of my way for a minute. I'll do a light pinks column just so I can talk about that, and then I'll move on for a minute. Okay, so my other side, I'm gonna do the 776, and I'm gonna keep it at the 4 strands. Oh, I went to grab my needle, but I'm leaving my pink on there. Okay, so if I'm doing satin stitch, like right next to each other like this, I try to use the same holes because then there's like that seamless transition between the two. You could always like go back and do like a straight stitch between them. Like once you have everything stitched, just do like one line between each of them if you wanted to, if your lines are not as straight as you want them to be. But usually I just try to just use the same holes, and then they'll be like right next to each other, so it shouldn't cause any issues. Keep getting strings that are too long. So coming up and going down, I'm trying to use like the same holes, or at least like really close to them, to keep that like nice and snug. Those stitches really close together, so I'm not gonna have like gaps that you can see the fabric. You could even do these more at an angle. I didn't angle mine as much as I thought I did. I think it's kind of fun to have like the two different directions right next to each other. Gives a little bit some different texture, a little bit more pleasing to the eye. just 2 more little stitches here. Fun. Okay. So there's that. All right, now what we're gonna do is do some frosting. Okay, well, depending on how you want to do your cherry, I might do the cherry first. You could do a woven wagon wheel like we did on the love cookie, because this one's a little bit bigger. And so it might be fun to try that if you've never done woven wagon wheels, to just do that just a little bit bigger. Or if you're wanting a challenge, you could satin stitch this. So if you're doing the woven wagon wheel, I would do it first. Otherwise, you could do your frosting first, which is what I'm gonna do next. So a satin stitch or a woven wagon wheel or a stem stitch, and just do that stem stitch in a circle. You could also do the couching stitch, whatever you feel like you need to practice. That's what I would do there. I'm planning on doing, I don't know. I kind of want to do a woven wagon wheel. So I think that's what I'm going to do next. Did we do all 6 strands before? I think we did. So since these are a little bit bigger, since this cherry is a little bit bigger than like the little flowers we did, I'm gonna do 5 spokes. So like a star, if that makes it easier for you to draw the spokes, is I'm gonna do 5 spokes on there instead of just the 3. So you could do 3 if you wanted, but you just have to have an odd amount. Don't forget that part. Whatever odd number of stitches you want to do, that's fine. The only reason I'm doing this first is because we're doing weaving, and I always feel like other stitches get in the way when I'm doing that. So I like to do them first so that I'm less likely to snag other things around it. So we're gonna go and do these spokes from the edge to the center. And this is the 304. Now, when you're doing woven wagon wheels, another thing is you can keep these pretty flat or you can make them kind of fluffy. So I went down in the middle, so I'm just coming up over to the side a little bit, and then I'll weave. And I'm gonna keep this one pretty flat if I can. So one thing to do that is to kind of press it down every time you make it like all the way around the circle. So as you're working, just kind of flatten those out. If you want it to look like a rose, you kind of want them to be a little bit fluffier, but which you could also still do on this, but me see if I can mess with this some more. It's really hard for me to not like try and like fluff this up to look like a little rose. Ooh, this one is hard at this angle. I might have chosen the wrong way. You can go around this clockwise or counterclockwise. It doesn't matter as long as you're going the same direction the whole time. I am kind of wishing I had chosen counterclockwise. There we go. So once it starts to get really close like this, if I'm having a hard time like getting it around, you can sometimes just stem stitch around the edge. Let me just go around this one more time and I'll show you what I mean. So I've got these spokes nearly completely covered. Like you can see like little tiny bits of them. Sometimes I'll just go around and do a stem stitch. So I'm under this spoke here. So what I'm gonna do is go down at an angle like under these stitches. Oh, let me zoom out a little. And then hold that out to the edge. And then I'm gonna come up. But I'm going to come up like under these stitches without grabbing onto them. And kind of cover up those spokes just with some stitches. So remember, we're going forward a stitch length and then we come up in the middle of it and then pull it snug, and it kind of creates like a rope. So you could do the whole thing like this. You don't have to do the woven part at all if you don't want to. Just go around and around and around until you get to the full thing covered. But I like to finish my roses like this a lot because it covers up those spokes really nicely and kind of like finishes it almost. All right, last one. Then I'm just gonna go down where I started. There we go. Cute little cherry. Awesome. Okay, let me tie that off so it's out of the way. All right, are we ready for frosting? I'm gonna use 6 strands of the white. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna separate these strands. Oh, hold on. What's going on there? Okay, so I'm gonna separate these strands just one by one and then put them back together because I want this to be nice and fluffy. So there's 1, 2. So I just take this and pull 1. And then just straighten this back out. So I've got 3 strands. 4. Whoop. 5. I know it looks like a big fat mess, but it's all gonna work out. So then I'm gonna get all the ends and gather them back together. This is just so, because the embroidery thread is twisted together. That's what keeps it together. So by like pulling them apart, you'll just separate them so they're not, it won't be like as twisted. Hold on. I'm missing a thread here. Okay. So I've got all 6 strands, but now they're just like loose. They're not all twisted together. They're a little bit harder to get into the needle because they're not like stuck together anymore, but I think it'll be worth it. Okay. So what we're gonna do is kind of a loose back stitch or split stitch, kind of a mixture of the two. Okay, so we're gonna start at the top. You could start at the bottom if you want. Sorry, that's wiggling. And we're just gonna do some straight stitches or back stitches or split stitches, but we're not gonna pull these tight. We're gonna keep them loose, so it's like sticking up. Then we're just gonna come right next to it and do another one. And don't pull it too tight because you'll straighten this out. Like we wanna keep that. So I kind of hold on to the back, like with my finger, and just kind of hold on to it so I can't pull it too tight. And then just go down next to it. And just pull that to where you have it where you want it. And then I'm gonna go on the other side and down a little bit. This can be like totally random, or you can kind of have a method. This is kind of my method. I really struggle with doing things like random. I'm just not very good at it. My brain just doesn't want to do random. And then I'm gonna come up and just fill this whole space with these loose, I don't even know that it has a name, like loose back stitches. Loose, depends on if you're splitting them or not. I used this for bushes on a house I did at the end of the year. And it's kind of time consuming because you kind of have to like go back and like fill spots that don't quite get filled correctly or whatever. You can also go in and just like do them different directions. Right now I'm kind of at a diagonal, but I could come in and do some come on, needle. And do it kind of at this angle. And if you kind of hold your needle under there while you're pulling it, you can kind of like smooth these out a little. That one's still a little poking up, but whoops, sorry, knocked you. I don't want it to look too uniformed. It's meant to be like a whipped, I don't know, whipped cupcake topping, frosting, not any of that smoothed out stuff. These are homemade cupcakes. They're not fancy. Sometimes if I put in some random stitches first, that also helps. So that's what I'm gonna do over here. Just like throw in some stitches. So I have a few different directions. So this corner is almost like a satin stitch, like laying them all next to each other. I don't know. Get creative in how you're placing these. You could also do kind of like we did at the bottom of the ice cream cone and just do just like some random split stitches. I just wanted these to be a little bit fluffier. That's what I was going for, was like a fluffy look. And then hope you don't have to pull anything out, because these stitches are, at least mine are, like all over the place. This is really zoomed in, isn't it? What do we think? Yay or nay? How do you feel about random? Are you any good at it? I love when I feel like things look random, but I like really struggle to feel like I'm stitching randomly. Giselle says, this is my weakness, right? I really want, that's one thing I like about stitching, is like the orderliness of it. Okay, so I'm just gonna do this one kind of just right into there, kind of break that up a little bit. It's turning out cute. It's just kind of slow. I'm gonna work until my thread runs out, and then I'm gonna let you go. Once you're done with the frosting, you could go back and add some sprinkles like we did with the ice cream. Just those like seed stitches or French knots. I just realized I never taught colonial knots. I meant to. If you're struggling with French knots, let me know and I will send you a video where I talk about colonial knots because they are sometimes a little bit easier. Sorry about that. I meant to another day and I just got distracted, I guess. See, that's not very random anymore. But I also feel like I can kind of fluff them up a little, fill up that space some. The back of this looks like nonsense. If I've never said it, let me just say it now. We're not worried about what the back looks like. The back just is what it is. We're not trying to win a prize for prettiest hoop butt. We're not doing that. Oops, I grabbed some of that red. Just filling in stitches wherever it looks like it could use another one. Oh, that's gonna fall out of my needle. Okay. Any other questions before I let you go? Because I am about out of thread here. You can layer these. If you aren't liking what something looks like, then just do a stitch right over the top. Just cover it up. This stitch is perfect for like, just do another one right over the top of it. It's not gonna matter. Or like go down in your stitches or up in your stitches. It's not gonna matter. I don't like that this one that's underneath, it was going that way. I decided I didn't like it, so I'm just covering it up. Okay, friends, I'm out of thread. So I'm gonna leave you with that. It looks really funny on video. It looks better in person. Not a question, just said it's our last treat. I know. I'll be live one more day though. We will back these. So let me know if you have questions once you get started working on yours. And I will finish this and post a picture of it. Wow, it looks really funky on video. I will fix it though. And then let me know if you have questions and we will go from there. Thanks for joining and I will see you in a couple of days to back these. Thanks. Bye.